What happens when you take a mid-engine supercar built with Formula 1 technology and throw it against some of Japan's most brutal touring cars? You get one of the most fascinating underdog stories in motorsport history, the story of the Honda NSX, a car that was supposed to redefine what a supercar could be and ended up being one of the most competitive racing series ever created. To understand why Honda built the NSX, we need to go back to the late 1980s. Japan was experiencing an economic bubble like no other. Money was flowing and Japanese car manufacturers were feeling confident enough to take on the Europeans at their own game. Ferrari dominated the supercar world with cars like the 328 and Testarossa, but they had a reputation problem. Sure, they were fast and beautiful, but they're also temperamental, unreliable, and required constant maintenance. Honda saw this as an opportunity. Honda's reputation is built on reliability and innovation, but they were seen as an economy car company.
No wonder the Civic lasts such a long, long time. Heck, it even outlasts our engineers.
They had conquered motorcycles, and they were making waves in Formula 1, but they needed something to prove they belonged in the supercar conversation. Company founder Soichiro Honda had a vision: build a car that could match Ferrari's performance while being as reliable as a Civic. It sounds impossible, but Honda had a secret weapon. They were simultaneously developing cutting-edge Formula 1 technology. When you think of the car triangle, you can have something that's fast and reliable, but it isn't going to be cheap. You can have something that's cheap and fast, but it's not going to be reliable. You can always have two of these things in this triangle, but it's not going to be all three. Honda wanted to break this barrier and gather all three into one car. So in 1984, Honda began what would become one of the most ambitious automotive projects ever undertaken by a Japanese manufacturer. They weren't just building a fast car, they were reimagining what a supercar could be, and they had help from the best driver in the world, Ayrton Senna, who was driving for Honda-powered McLaren in Formula 1. Becoming heavily involved in the NSX development, Senna didn't just test the car, he helped tune its handling characteristics, providing feedback that would help make the NSX one of the best driver-focused supercars ever built. The NSX was revolutionary in almost every way. It featured an all-aluminum body and chassis, the first production car to ever do so. This made it incredibly light, around 200 pounds lighter than a Ferrari 348. The mid-engine layout provided perfect weight distribution, while the VTEC V6 engine was a masterpiece of engineering. That VTEC system was the key. Variable valve timing was still an exotic technology in the early 90s, which allowed the NSX to be docile and fuel efficient at low RPMs, and then transform into a screaming banshee above 5800. It produced 270 horsepower naturally aspirated, which was pretty impressive for the era. When the NSX launched in 1990, it immediately changed the supercar game. It was faster than the Ferrari 348, more reliable than any Italian exotic, and could be daily driven without drama. Motor Trend called it the best sports car ever built. The project worldwide had been seen as a huge success, but Honda just couldn't resist taking this masterpiece racing. The Japanese Touring Car Championship was reaching its peak in the early 90s, one of the most exciting competitions to see, featuring some of the most advanced competitive touring cars ever built. At the time, Nissan's Skyline GTR was dominating with its sophisticated all-wheel drive system and twin-turbo power. Toyota Supra brought massive turbo power, while other manufacturers were throwing everything they had at the championship. Honda's decision to race the NSX was audacious. They were bringing a mid-engine, naturally aspirated supercar into a championship dominated by front-engine, turbocharged monsters. You can't blame them. On paper, the power numbers between the NSX and the other cars was pretty significant, but Honda had advantages that weren't immediately obvious. The NSX's Formula 1 derived technology gave them sophisticated aerodynamics, advanced telemetry systems, and that VTEC engine provided a power delivery curve that was both smooth and explosive, perfect for racing. The aluminum construction meant that they could have ballast exactly where they wanted it for optimal weight distribution. The mid-engine layout provided inherent balance that front-engine cars couldn't match. So in perfect conditions with perfect drivers, the NSX would have been a great car and it would have competed. But racing is about more than just technology, it's about results. The NSX's JTCC career was a perfect example of how the most advanced solution isn't always the winning one. The Skyline GTR was simply brutal. Its all-wheel drive system provided traction that the rear-wheel drive NSX couldn't match, especially in wet conditions. The GTR's twin-turbo power also gave it a significant advantage on long straights. The NSX could compete. It won races and showed flashes of brilliance, but it was often the sophisticated underdog fighting against more conventional but effective solutions. It was like bringing a rapier to a sledgehammer fight. Drivers praised the NSX handling and balance, but in touring car racing, raw speed and reliability often mattered more than finesse. The NSX was beautiful to drive, but it wasn't dominant. The complexity that made the NSX special on the street sometimes worked against it on the track. While the GTR could be fixed with a hammer, the NSX required precision and understanding of its sophisticated systems. In this case, in the JTCC, less would have been more. By the mid-90s, Honda began to step back from the JTCC as costs spiraled and regulations changed. The NSX had proven its point. Honda could build world-class performance cars, but the touring car experiment was winding down. It never really received any major updates because Honda got it right the first time and it was pretty much a timeless car. Since it was launched in the 90s, it was still competitive 15 years later. The NSX influence was extended far beyond its racing career. It forced Ferrari to improve their reliability and build quality. It showed that supercars could be daily drivable. It proved that Japanese manufacturers belonged in the exotic car conversation. The technologies pioneered in the NSX, aluminum construction, VTEC engines, advanced aerodynamics became standard throughout Honda's lineup. The lessons learned in JTCC influenced everything from the Civic Type R to the current NSX. Today, the original NSXs are becoming increasingly valuable, and collectors recognize them as one of the most significant supercars ever built. The NSX's Japanese Touring Car Championship career might not have been as dominant as Honda hoped, but it was never really about winning championships. It was about proving that Honda belonged among world elite performance car manufacturers. Well, what's your favorite underdog story? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you in the next video.